Hey, what's up, fellas? How we doing? Matt Antonelli here, answering questions for you guys today. Today's question was on conditioning, and what type of conditioning tests do we do at the major league level? Are they difficult? Do you guys fail them? And so we'll kind of get into all of that stuff today. Hope you guys get an idea of what it's really like um, to be a finely tuned athletic machine or not. So. In baseball, to be totally honest, the conditioning test, yes, we do conditioning tests every year. So when you show up to spring training, you're going to have a conditioning test. And every team's a little bit different, okay? No team is the exact same, but most of them are relatively the same, and they're all pretty easy. So the only way I feel like you could fail a conditioning test is you've got to really be out of shape. You've got to basically have done nothing in the off season. Okay. Or you have to be really old. And even if you're really old, I think still you'd have to pretty much do nothing in the off season. So most conditioning tests for the teams I played for revolved around a 300-yard shuttle, which is, basically you're just going to have to run 300 yards, but it's not just a straight 300 yards. You're going to go, typically it's going to be like 20 yards and back. Some teams will do 50 yards and back, I think. But you're basically just going down and back, and depending on how many yards each team does it, it's going to be, maybe 5 trips down, 10 trips down, something like that. But you don't have to run. Like whenever I would run it, and one thing I, prided myself on as a player was being in really, really good shape. And I was probably a better athlete than I was baseball player for most of my career. And so, running was always something I did well. And, I worked out really hard in the off season. And so I always came in really good shape. And so when I'm doing the conditioning test, I usually tried to be the best time. So I'd run pretty fast because I don't know, I like to compete and I wanted to try to get, the best time in camp. And if you were to run fast, like I ran pretty fast during my 300-yard shuttles, I probably had like 30 seconds to spare probably on passing the test. So I probably could have almost run the test twice. Not really, but if you run at a good pace, you're going to crush the time. Like you're not even going to come close to failing. And in my career, I don't remember anyone failing the test, honestly. And if guys failed it, I don't even know what they would have had. Like the tests were almost, I feel like, designed to make sure that no one could fail them. Unless, again, you did nothing and you were injured. And you basically just said, I'll give a shit, I'm failing the test. And even then, you might still pass the test. So that's really what the conditioning tests were like. Now, again, even though it was easy, most players... like I know baseball players get a bad rap and people are like, you don't have to be an athlete to play baseball, right? You can just eat potato chips and not do anything. Like, yeah, maybe there's one or two of those guys in the game, but like in my experience, most guys are really, really strong and in really good shape and really take care of their bodies. Like, just because you don't have to be a football player or a basketball player and have to be in the greatest shape of your life, most players are still... With the exception, again, I know people are going to be like, well, Pablo Sandoval is in good shape. Yeah, he's really in good shape, right? Or like Bartolo Colon. Bartolo's also like 40-something years old, I think. And I understand that there's some players that their bodies are not the greatest. But I'm telling you, most of the guys I played with, and most of the guys you're going to see in the major league level are in really good shape and really work hard, right? Most guys are in the weight room at least 3 to 4 times a week during the season, right? Probably 3 times a week during the season. But I know in the off season they're working really, really hard also. And so, most players they're professionals. They take care of their body. They come to camp ready to go. It's not like people always talk about, like back at 30 years ago or something. Players had off season jobs and they were out working on the mill and all this stuff. Like, nowadays, guys are working, they're training. Everyone has personal trainers and they're working out all winter long. And so they come back to camp in really, really good shape. So that may not have been as exciting as you guys might have thought because, like I said, there's really not much to do with the conditioning tests. But I will tell you where conditioning they do not mess around, and that is in college. And so in college, I've got a couple of stories for you guys as far as conditioning goes. And this really wasn't even so much conditioning, although coaches may tell you it is. Conditioning in college was like punishment. So I remember two examples when I was in college, my junior year. One of them, we lost to Appalachian State, which we were supposed to, really beat. And I remember getting on the bus, and Appalachian State is, kind of mountainy. And so you're coming down a big, huge hill from the stadium. We're pulling down, and there's this big parking lot, and we're about to head out, and all of a sudden our coach says, "Hey, hold on 1 second," to the bus driver. And we were all like, "That's not good." We stopped, and he says, "Everybody off the bus." So we all get off the bus. We're still in full uniform. We get off the bus, and we just run sprints back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in the parking lot in full uniform after we just drove probably, I don't know, an hour to the game, played in a 3-hour game, BP everything, got an hour drive back, and we probably ran for about an hour outside until people started puking. So that was a regular occurrence in college. I'm sure you other guys that play college ball probably experienced similar stuff. The worst conditioning of my life was we lost the game to Davidson, who at that time was not very good. They actually had a really good year this past year. But they're a smaller school, and we're supposed to beat them. When I was there, we were supposed to beat them all the time. And we were like ranked really high in the country. I think we were like ranked 12th or 15th in the country, and we were really, really good my junior year at that point. This is kind of the where everything went downhill. So we lost to Davidson, and we get in the clubhouse after the game. We're at home, and our coach says, "Don't get undressed." And he says, he goes, "Put on your running shoes. Meet us down at the football field." And so we're like, "What the hell?" So we all go down the football field, and I'm convinced still to this day that our coach was trying to kill us, because we must have run for, I don't know, it felt like 5 hours. It was over an hour straight of running. It might have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. We were running stadiums, up and down the stadium, basically until you passed out or puked. Then we came on the field, and we ran shuttles where you'd run 5 yards and back, 10 yards and back, 15 yards and back, 20 yards and back, 25 yards back, 30 yards and back, all the way down to 100 and back. I remember doing abs. We were doing like an ab routine where my stomach had never burned this bad in my life. I felt like I was trained to be a Navy SEAL. It probably wouldn't be worse, but I was not ready to be a Navy SEAL. And, it was the most pain I ever experienced in my life. Literally, I wasn't sure. I don't think anyone thought they were going to get through it. Most guys were throwing up and puking and yelling. Guys are doing like, during our ab workout, most guys are like, you hear them yelling and screaming and they were like in really, really bad pain. And we proceeded to win like 2 games after that. I think we went like 2-10 or something down the stretch. So we didn't play very well after that beatdown. But that, when you think of conditioning, maybe I don't think about it on that level, but that's sometimes what I think about when I think back to conditioning. But when you think about major league conditioning or even minor league conditioning is a little bit tougher. They try to at least get you worked up a little bit. Major league conditioning is like, let's make sure that no one pulls a hamstring or hurts themselves. We just got back and got a long season ahead of us, and we'll do the conditioning test just to say we did it. That's usually how that works. It might be different now, but when I was playing, my last spring training was 2013 or 14. I can't remember. 2013 was my last one with the Indians. And so again, every team might do a little bit more than some other teams. They're not all the exact same, but most of them are pretty much the same. And so hopefully that helps you guys out. Got a lot of questions on conditioning. in the major leagues. And so, again, I know it's not super eventful, but hopefully this helps you guys out and gives you guys an idea of what it's like. So let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. Give us a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. What else? Check out our Instagram page, Antonelli Baseball, Twitter feed, Matt29. I want to post videos all the time for you guys. Check out the description box below where I put a bunch of links to books and training tools we use with our players. Check out our website, AntonelliBaseball.com, to learn out how to work with us and our staff and part of our teams. And that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Good luck to you, and we'll talk to you later.